$410 million. Amazon just handed that amount to Recursive Superintelligence, a startup so unknown that even hardcore AI watchers didn't know their name until this deal dropped. But this isn't a story about a big check. It's a story about power shifting in the AI wars. Because right now, compute is the only currency that matters. You can hire brilliant researchers, but without thousands of GPUs to train your models, you're finished before you start. Recursive Superintelligence just became a heavyweight. Amazon's essentially saying, we believe you can compete with Anthropic, with OpenAI, with Google DeepMind, and we're putting $410 million where our mouth is. That kind of confidence doesn't happen by accident. It means Amazon's seen something in their research, maybe a breakthrough in reasoning, maybe a more efficient approach to scaling, maybe something about their team that convinced AWS leadership to bet this big. And here's the part that changes everything. By flooding them with compute, Amazon doesn't just help Recursive. It positions AWS as the infrastructure backbone of a major AI competitor. But that raises a giant question nobody's really asking. Is Amazon playing both sides of the AI wars? So who is Recursive Superintelligence? They're a relatively young company focused on building AI systems with better reasoning and planning capabilities. Basically, they're trying to solve the problem of how to make AI think more like humans do, with longer chains of reasoning and better problem solving. This kind of research-focused startup would normally struggle because building frontier AI requires insane amounts of compute. Training a single cutting-edge model can cost millions of dollars and consume the electricity of a small city. Most startups can't afford that. The typical path is either acquisition by a big lab like OpenAI or Anthropic, or struggling forever in the shadows. But Recursive just leapfrogged that entire trajectory with this Amazon deal. And this matters because compute access is the new moat in AI. 5 years ago, the bottleneck was talent, the researchers who understood transformers and large language models. Now, talent is everywhere. The real bottleneck is infrastructure. Can you afford the GPUs? Do you have access to enough compute to actually train and iterate on frontier models? Amazon clearly looked at Recursive and thought, these people have something special. And by giving them this compute, Amazon gains something too. They position themselves as the infrastructure backbone of frontier AI research. Let's talk numbers for a second, because the compute being discussed here is substantial. A $410 million compute deal with Amazon translates to a massive allocation of GPU time. We're talking potentially thousands of high-end GPUs, probably Trainium or Inferentia chips, potentially backed up with NVIDIA GPUs for the parts of training that need them most. That's enough compute to train multiple frontier models simultaneously. It's enough to run continuous experiments, enough to push the boundaries of what's possible in model reasoning and capabilities. For context, training a state-of-the-art model like Claude or GPT-4 level systems requires running millions of GPU hours. A single training run can take months and cost tens of millions of dollars. Recursive now has access to enough infrastructure to do this repeatedly, to iterate quickly, to experiment with new architectures and approaches. They can fail fast, learn fast, and get back to innovation. That's a massive competitive advantage. And here's what's clever about Amazon's angle. They're not just giving away compute. They're getting AWS in front of the best research teams in the world. Every model Recursive trains runs on AWS infrastructure. Every experiment, every breakthrough becomes tied to AWS. And if Recursive succeeds, which the deal suggests Amazon believes they will, they become a proof point for how AWS can power frontier AI development. So what does Recursive actually do with this compute? The company has been focused on reasoning models, basically AI systems that can break down complex problems into steps, think through them methodically, and arrive at better answers. That's a real technical challenge. Most current AI models are kind of like smart pattern matchers. They're incredible at finding patterns in data, but they're not great at multi-step reasoning or planning. Recursive's research has been about fixing that. With $410 million worth of AWS compute, they can now train massive reasoning models at scale. Imagine an AI that can tackle scientific research problems step by step, or help engineers design complex systems by working through the problems methodically, or assist developers by reasoning through code architecture challenges. These are things that current AI struggles with because they require genuine multi-step thinking, not just pattern matching. The broader implication is that Recursive can now directly compete in building models that rival what OpenAI is building, what Anthropic's building, what Google DeepMind is building. They're not going to license other people's models or build on top of other companies' work. They're building from scratch, from the ground up, with world-class infrastructure behind them. And that's a combination that historically reshapes entire industries. How does this compare to other AI funding announcements? Last year, Anthropic raised $5 billion in a Series C round, a record at the time. But that money goes into payroll, infrastructure, operations, research, and development. It's not just compute. Meanwhile, this Recursive deal is specifically $410 million of compute infrastructure. It's more focused, more tactical. It's Amazon saying, here's the specific tool you need to compete. Other startup partnerships look different too. Some companies have deals with Microsoft to use Azure infrastructure. Some rely on startup credits from Google Cloud. But this is bigger than a startup discount. This is Amazon actively backing Recursive as a frontier AI player. The closest comparison might be what Microsoft's doing by backing OpenAI or what Google's doing with its own internal research teams. But this is different because Recursive is independent. They're not subsidiary to Amazon. They're not owned by AWS. They're a separate company that Amazon is betting on. That independence matters because it means they can compete directly with AWS. If they want to, they're not locked in contractually to favor Amazon. This is Amazon making a calculated bet that Recursive's success strengthens AWS more than it hurts. That's the move that changes everything. Here's why this matters beyond Recursive itself. The AI compute wars are intensifying, and this deal is a signal that Amazon is willing to bet big on independent researchers rather than just building in-house capabilities. AWS has its own Trainium and Inferentia chips. They've invested billions in building first-party silicon designed to be cheaper and more efficient than NVIDIA GPUs. But that silicon is only valuable if people use it. By backing Recursive with massive compute credits on their infrastructure, Amazon is proving that their chips can power frontier AI research. It's a vote of confidence in AWS from one of the most demanding customers in AI, a team that could have chosen Microsoft Azure, could have chosen Google Cloud, could have built their own infrastructure. They didn't. They chose AWS. That's huge for Amazon's credibility in the AI space. It also tells us something about where the AI wars are heading. This isn't just about large language models anymore. It's about reasoning, planning, multi-step thinking. It's about the AI layer that sits on top of data and comes up with actionable insights. Companies are racing to build that layer, and compute is the limiting factor. Whoever controls the compute infrastructure wins the race. And if this deal succeeds, it proves that cloud infrastructure is where frontier AI actually gets built. So what does this mean for you? If you're a developer or researcher, this deal signals that the frontier of AI is moving toward better reasoning and planning, the kinds of problems Recursive is focused on solving. That's where the next breakthroughs will be. If you're an AI enthusiast, watch Recursive's releases closely over the next year or two. They're about to launch models trained on $410 million worth of AWS compute. Those models will be interesting, and they'll be open to testing and comparison. If you're thinking about building AI applications, understand that companies with serious compute backing can now iterate much faster than pure open-source projects. That means commercial AI development is accelerating, while open-source development is hitting limits. If you're a business leader, watch how Recursive's models perform. They might offer an alternative to OpenAI or Anthropic, a third major player in frontier AI. If you're invested in AI or follow tech stocks, this is a signal about where AWS sees the market heading. Amazon's betting billions that reasoning AI is the future, that confidence shapes the entire market. And if you're just curious about AI, remember this: the companies that get resources win. Recursive just got resources. That shapes everything about where careers and innovation will actually happen in AI. The big picture is that Recursive Superintelligence just became a heavyweight player in frontier AI because Amazon believed in them enough to bet $410 million on their success. That's not a small endorsement. That's Amazon saying, this company will compete with the best. This company will push the boundaries of what AI can do, and we are betting our infrastructure on it. What happens next is crucial. Over the next year or two, Recursive will release models built on $410 million worth of AWS compute. Those models will probably be impressive. They'll probably tackle reasoning and planning problems that current AI struggles with. And they'll probably trigger a domino effect. Microsoft will back their own favorite team, Google will do the same, and suddenly every major cloud provider is in an arms race to fund the next frontier AI lab. This is the new shape of the AI wars. It's not just about who can build the smartest researchers or the best algorithms anymore. It's about who can give those researchers access to massive compute. And Amazon just made a massive bet that Recursive is worth backing. Whether that bet pays off will shape AI development for years to come. Keep watching this story unfold. Follow for daily AI news.